All right, today we're going to dive into an ancient riddle that's been hiding in plain sight for centuries. It comes from a wise man, but here's the catch. His question sounds, at first, shockingly foolish. And unlocking it, well, it reveals a pretty powerful secret about the world we live in. So, this is really the heart of what we're exploring today. We're going to challenge what we think wisdom sounds like by digging into a question that seems, well, almost nonsensical. But believe me, there's a profound meaning hidden just beneath the surface. So, our mystery centers on this figure from the Passover Haggadah known as the Wise Son. Now, every single year, he's famous for asking a question that's supposed to show off just how smart he is. But when you actually stop and look at the words he uses, it's just deeply weird. And there it is. Now, on the surface, it sounds like a pretty straightforward request, right? Hey, what are the rules? But for centuries, thinkers have looked at this and said, wait a minute, for a wise son, this question is just full of problems. Okay, so let's break this down, because this is where it gets really interesting. First off, if you're the wise son, you already know the laws, so why are you asking what they are? It's a bizarre question. Second, he says God commanded you. That sounds an awful lot like the rebellious son, the one who takes himself out of the group. And third, the order he lists the laws, testimonies, decrees, laws, it's not the normal logical way you'd list them. So what on earth is he really asking? To crack this case, we have to become detectives for a minute. We need to look at the specific words the wise son is using. See, these aren't just random categories. They're very distinct types of divine commandments, and they're our first big set of clues to figuring out his true meaning. First step, you've got mishpatim, or judgments. These are the easy ones, the no-brainers. They're logical, ethical laws that, any reasonable society would probably come up with on its own. Don't steal, don't murder, they just make sense. Then you've got edots, or testimonies. Now, these aren't immediately obvious just from pure logic. But once someone explains the backstory, like, we celebrate Passover to remember the Exodus from Egypt, they click into place. They become totally logical because they testify to something important. And finally, we have the most mysterious category of all, chukim, or decrees. These are the real head-scratchers. They are commandments that have absolutely no logical explanation that our minds can grasp. They are supra-rational, which is a fancy way of saying their only reason is because God said so. You just do them. So you see what's happening here? These three types of laws exist on this spectrum of human understanding. You go from the completely logical mishpatim to the symbolic edot, all the way to the totally incomprehensible chukim. Now keep this spectrum in your back pocket because the wise son's weird ordering of them is a major clue. Okay, so we've got our first set of clues, the three types of laws. But to really solve this thing, we have to go deeper. We have to enter a more mystical way of looking at the world. Because the wise son isn't just asking about laws on a piece of paper. He's talking about how we connect to different levels of reality itself. So according to Kabbalistic thought, there are basically three main ways the divine interacts with our world. There's an immanent light that sort of fills creation and plays by its rules, its logic. Then there's a transcendent light that surrounds creation, operating completely beyond our logic. And then there's the core itself, the very essence of the divine, which is beyond all of it. Okay, you ready? This is where everything clicks. We're going to put our two sets of clues together, the three types of commandments and the three levels of divine light. The wise son in his absolute genius, so a hidden connection between them. And this is where the whole mystery begins to unravel. Okay, just look at this. This connection is everything. When you perform the logical laws, the meshpatim, you connect to that immanent logical light that fills the world. Makes sense. When you perform the super-rational decrees, the chukim, you connect to the transcendent light that's beyond logic. That also kind of makes sense. But here comes the twist. And there it is, the simple, symbolic, totally understandable testimonies, the edot. They are the ones that connect us to the very essence of the divine, the highest level of all. I mean, isn't that completely backwards from what you'd expect? You'd think the most mysterious, illogical acts would get you to the highest level. But nope, it's the ones we can actually relate to that forge the deepest connection. So now we can finally reframe his question. The wise son was not asking, what are these laws? He knew them better than anyone. He was asking something so much deeper. He was asking in total astonishment, how is this even possible? How did our world change so dramatically that my simple physical actions, like eating a piece of matzah, can now plug me into the absolute core of all reality? What happened? And this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. It explains that weird little word, you. The wise son is asking his question as if he's standing before the Exodus. He understands the old spiritual operating system, and he's looking in total awe at the new reality that you, the generation that left Egypt, now get to live in. Think about it like this. Before the Exodus and the giving of the Torah at Sinai, spiritual service was, well, mainly spiritual. A physical deed was just a side thing, an accessory. Its impact was described as being like a pleasant fragrance. It's there, but it's not fully tangible in the physical world. But after Sinai, a revolution happened. The physical act itself became the main event, supercharged with the power to actually change reality. So this wasn't an overnight thing. You can see how it built up over time. First, you have the patriarchs, who did incredible spiritual work, but it stayed mostly in the spiritual realm. Then came the crucible of Egypt. That period of intense suffering forged the Jewish people into something new, creating this essential, bone-deep bond with the divine. And that all culminated at Sinai, where physical actions were given this brand new, world-changing power. And suddenly, the traditional answer given to the wise son makes perfect, jaw-dropping sense. It's not a boring history lesson, it's the direct answer to his real question. You want to know how this is possible? It's because of what we went through. We were slaves. God took us out and then commanded us to do. The doing is the key. That whole national experience, the slavery and the liberation, it completely rewired the relationship between the physical and the spiritual. A new reality was created where the focus shifted from just having good intentions to the incredible power of physical action. The wise son, representing the old way, is just asking in wonder about this new power that you now have. So, great story, right? But why does unpacking this ancient riddle actually matter to us, right here, right now? Because the revolution it describes, well, it's still in effect, and it holds a really powerful lesson about the potential that's hidden in our own everyday actions. The ultimate takeaway from his mind-bending question is that we are living in a world that was fundamentally changed. A world where our simplest, most tangible deeds are now infused with the potential to connect us to the deepest possible level of meaning and reality. So, to just boil it all down, the wisest questions are often hiding in plain sight, challenging what we take for granted. The Exodus wasn't just some historical event. It was a spiritual rewiring of reality itself. Our physical actions have a power that goes way beyond what they look like. And maybe most importantly, we should never ever overlook the potential for profound power in the simplest parts of our lives. And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. The wise son was absolutely blown away by the idea that a simple, physical act could touch the very essence of the divine. So what if that's still true for us? What if the ordinary, everyday, routine things we do hold a quiet, world-changing power that we just haven't learned to see yet?